You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the welcome to the show. My name is Dave, and this is a Fistful of Podcast from FFOPradio.com. Back for another great episode. Let me introduce you to my co-host for this episode. I'm probably going to stick to your online handle because here's the thing. You know the story. Once you get introduced to me, you're locked in as that. So please welcome, if you will, Vathas. What's up, Vathas?
Salutations. Not a whole lot tonight. Just recovering from disc golf today.
Oh my God. We are going to have to talk about that. But first, let me introduce also in studio my producer sometimes. It's Krista.
Hi.
So, disc golf, Vathas?
Yeah, disc golf. Got over 16,000 steps in and 58 flights of stairs today.
Wow.
So here's the thing. Like right across the street from where I work, no bullshit, is a disc golf course, and I always see it packed. What the fuck is up with disc golf?
It's a wonderful way to stay active and then get outside and into nature. I mean, depending on... You're in the middle of a desert, so... I mean...
Yeah, but we breed them tough out here. Don't you worry about me, Vathas. I got heat resistance.
I don't.
Krista does not. So, okay, but here's one of my major questions about disc golf, because with Regs ass golf, you have one ball you have to walk around. But I see dudes walking from quote unquote hole to hole, whatever you want to call that your goal area, with these huge ass bags. Do you just carry like a machine gun belt fed style bandolier of discs?
Well, I mean, it depends. You've got a couple different types of disc golfers out there, right? You've got
oh God,
you've got
of course there are.
You've got the newbies and the seasoned veterans who are usually either carrying one disc,
okay,
and use that for everything, or a couple discs if they've got a putter and a driver and maybe a mid-range. And then
Jesus Christ.
And then you've got the people that are past amateur but still getting into it, and
journeyman, we call them.
They'll have 20 discs plus.
Well, so what are we talking about here? Do you just throw one disc per hole, and like golf, you have to run your ass around picking it up and throwing it?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily one disc per hole. So most disc golf holes are going to be in the 270 to 420 foot range from the tee to the pin. And I'm sure you've seen it. It's not like a hole. It's a chain basket that you hit.
Okay, I was gonna ask, am I thinking of the right thing? Because
it's got those weird chain.
It's a big metal thing with the chains down,
lacrosse-looking gadgets that you have to get.
Yeah,
like basketball hoops almost.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you don't go in the top. You go in the side. You hit the chains, and it drops in the basket. And so, you'll start off with a driver or a mid-range, depending on the length of the hole. And then it's actually, for someone not new, that doesn't really know disc golf, the different discs you can get do a lot of different things. So
are they weighted or something?
Yeah.
Like weighted differently?
So
I'm sure.
There's different weights for the discs, in, gram weight. And then you also have 3 different main types of discs. You've got a driver, which has a really thin edge.
I would have thought the other way around. Like it would be a big fat ass thing that's heavy.
No, because you want to throw it and have it fly out and glide for a long distance.
Right.
And then drop off at the end. And then you've got mid-ranges, which are a little bit heavier. Depending on the type of mid-range, it has a different type of rim or edge on it, and that's used for more straight shots or cut shots. and then you have putters, and putters are a lot heavier and have a much wider rim, and those are meant to just fly straight and drop, so that you can make really nice straight shots to the pin and make it in the basket without having to worry about it flying all over the place. You want it to go where you put it.
Okay, so it is like it's almost like an opposite day where golf is concerned, because when you're driving it far, your club is going to be the thing impacting the ball. But if you're throwing the damn thing, then yeah, the heavier, the shorter it'll fly.
Right.
So, but that's the thing too. Like something is known or whatever as frisbee golf.
Don't you dare call it frisbee golf, Dave. Call it by its name. It is disc golf.
Disc golf? Yeah, sorry. I don't want frisbee coming up my ass with their
with their
logistics and their legalities. Oh, fuck. But, oh, my God. Yeah, it's so funny. Something, like disc golf. Yeah, because someone on the outside, like, let's say me, for instance, who after this conversation will go back to giving zero fucks about it and immediately revert to calling it frisbee golf. Like, that's the thing. But I'm sure if I were to get into it and call it frisbee golf, I would be booed out of, like I would be shouted down immediately, right?
Well, because it's nothing like a frisbee. I mean, a frisbee is a frisbee.
But a disc is a fruit and cake, right?
A disc is a disc. I mean, they're completely different shapes. And you could hit someone in the head with a frisbee and they would walk away from it. I have hit someone in the head with a disc because they didn't look where they were walking and they did not get up right away.
So, what are we talking about then weight-wise with these bad boys?
I generally throw between 170 to 175 gram weight.
So put that in like something I can understand.
I don't know. I'm not a drug dealer. I don't know how to. I don't know
how many grams is a pound. Krista, get on the conversion table. See how many grams are in a pound.
I turned my Wi-Fi off.
Oh.
Like you're supposed to do for a good co-host.
Well, someone will look it up later and really be impressed by that. So,
Kayla, if you're listening,
look
it up. There's 453.592 grams in a pound.
So we're looking at a quarter pound.
Yeah, but they're also quite sharp with the edge of the driver. It's not.
Well, yeah, because you have to get into like chain.
Right. When you throw it,
from what we understood,
you're hucking it. Like I have a 3-step run up to my throw, and if I'm really putting the mustard on it, I could throw it between 240 and 280 feet.
Here's the thing, Vathas. When I sat down and you were like, "Woo, long day," I thought I was going to hear a long story of a bedraggled man, chained to a desk or working in a factory. Little did I know, you're tore up from disc golf.
Yeah. Walking through the woods over rocks and mud from the recent snow that happened 2 weeks ago.
That's the life of a disc golfer. You have to. I'm sure you're beating off the pussy with a stick, but sometimes there's some hard treks ahead of you, my man. So let's talk.
You, I'm a spoken for man, so I don't have to deal with the beating stick anymore.
Well, yeah, they must be able to smell it on you as soon as they. Even when I take my ring off to wash my hands and I forget about it, it's like I am completely disinterested as far as everybody else is concerned.
Yeah, but that's just people in general, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. I mean, if you know myself or Krista, the person you want to talk to is Krista. She's
I'm the one that gets hit on at the grocery store.
Well, not only that, but it's I don't even want to say my better half because I'm not even half of the equation. Like with all the scheduling
your better
shit,
7/8.
Probably somewhere around there.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
well, especially if you got to put the little one in the mix too, because then it's Krista's your better 5/8, and then he's your better 1/8.
He ain't better than anything yet. He's still trying to reach the levels of basically okay. He's still so far down the food chain.
He's not full human yet.
No, but he's getting there. God, it would be so would be in a fair world to make child rearing somewhat worth it. Like if they were born with a tail and it stayed to maybe their baby teeth, right? Like once their baby teeth start falling out, then the tail goes.
Yeah.
But that would be so much more fun than just this pink small human.
Well, you better watch out there, Dave, or you might wind up with a disc golfer in the family.
Oh my God. Let's hope. Like, I would take, this is a dicey statement because disc golf has a reputation of its own, but I would take a disc golfer over a furry. Like, if he grows up and does not fall into furry, I'm going to call that at least, that's like half a win right there.
Well, let's not start casting aspersions too wide there, Dave, because furry is just a small step off of cosplayer.
I don't know. It's a little bit bigger.
When you transgress species, that's where the rub is, my man. Like, don't get me wrong. Cosplay, someone dressing up to be like, people know this about me. I used to dress up as Wolfwood, Vash the Stampede's #1 dude. I would not step into 8 or 10 pounds of fur.
If you're gonna be like Chewbacca, that's one thing.
That's not
like
furry.
That's
still cosplay.
Yeah, but I'm saying fur.
But it is a slippery slope.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the gross, sexy stuff. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. I'm not talking because
Krista's not helping your argument here.
How so?
By throwing Chewbacca in the mix.
No, she never does help out my argument.
Sorry.
She hasn't seen the things that we're referencing. She's always there to be like, but actually. But that's part of the show. I mean, you know, Vathas.
That's what makes me the 6 or 7/8 of the better half.
Yeah, there's.
That's right.
I have very few. What are you gonna call it? People in my life are often straight men. Very few of them want to like take my bullshit and run with it. They want to shut that shit down from coast to coast. I think RJ probably is the straightest man to ever grace this show, comedic wise.
Yeah.
Vathas, with your disc golf though, you're really making you're giving him a run for his money.
Well, what can I say? I like disc golfing. Then again, I also play lots of RPG games, so I think that probably equals out.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much disc golf per RPG. Now, are we talking JRPGs or Westerns? As if I didn't know.
Are you talking about, like, digital RPGs? Because I play pen and paper RPGs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Woof.
As I think we might have talked about a little bit before. I mean, I'm a salty veteran with the Call of Cthulhu role.
Right.
Yeah.
That's, we could go into that if you like. I have not ever played the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, like IRL or whatever, but maybe you've played this. Do you remember when this was on the first Xbox, the Call of Cthulhu put out by Frogware?
Oh, yeah, the terrible ones that were impossible to get through?
Yes!
Like Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth?
Yes, that's the one, man.
Ugh.
It was...
so frustrating.
Right. It was a complete shit show because Frogware is at best, mediocre video game producer. However, and maybe you could say no, because my memory might be shit, but I feel like that chase through the Gilman house was pretty legit. Like, and keep in mind, I'm also a pussy about this sort of stuff, but I was pretty scared, and I thought that the controls were not shitty enough to ruin that experience.
No, because you were so terrified, and then just kept getting caught.
Mm-hmm. I didn't get caught a whole lot, but I felt like after it becomes non-faithful, I was going to say disfaithful, but non-canonical maybe with the story. And like you go from that thrilling run through the rooms as they try and break down the doors and the shimmying down, and then you're just like in a goddamn like warehouse. I just like playing almost Metal Gear Solid, like the one on the first PlayStation.
Yeah. No, it definitely wasn't the greatest game, but it definitely had some strengths. I mean, it was a chase scene.
And it was like the only thing, I mean, they've made some attempts since, but it's the only thing video game wise that's Lovecraft that you can really sink your teeth into something canonical.
Yeah, I mean, until the more recent, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, Call of Cthulhu game that came out.
Yeah.
That was really well done.
I haven't picked that one up yet because I was once bitten, twice shy.
Oh, much better. much, much better of a game. Canonically, and graphically, and
Well, it was so crazy because I feel like, and this maybe my memory is also shit, but all the fish dudes in that first one, like, felt like they were out of the N64, like those big, dumb-looking dudes from Majora's Mask.
Yeah, well,
I thought they were just like pyramid heads.
Yeah, it definitely felt James Bond N64-y.
Yeah. Oh. Or it's just like a bunch of mannequins that feel like they've been spray painted. Like all the details aren't there. It's like somebody's first attempt at graffiti, and they're like, "Oh, fuck it, it's good enough."
Yeah. Yeah.
So now that I got you, though, we are talking Lovecraft. What is your favorite Lovecraft story?
Oh, I think out of everything,
It's hard, right?
I would say The Outsider.
Really?
It's my favorite. It's just, even though it's not the crunchiest, it's not the longest, I think it perfectly encapsulates that kind of Lovecraftian terror and twist that the stories really, the best stories have.
You know, I think it's probably, it's the only one I can think of anyway, that does not give away the ending in the first sentence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know the shrieking horror of the end until the literal end. Whereas, like, we can, obviously everybody probably knows my favorite, The Shed over Innsmouth. Like, it starts out with Lovecraft, or the unnamed protagonist being like, check it out. The government's blowing up Innsmouth. They're going to fucking destroy Devil Reef, all the weird fish monsters and everything. Anyway, now let me tell you the story. but yeah, maybe Dagon too.
Yeah, I mean, I also have a special place in my heart for the Dunwich Horror. But there's a reason for that, because I go to, I don't know, you may or may not have heard of it, but I go to Necronomicon in Providence, Rhode Island every 2 years.
Oh yeah, of course I've heard of that.
Yeah, so I've been going since 2015. On 2015, 2017, and 2019. They pushed it from 2021 to 2022. Actually, passes go on sale next Friday, I believe, for 2022 Necronomicon in Providence, and it's an amazing convention.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's great because it's a very small, close-knit community compared to a lot of the other conventions for gaming and gaming-related things out there. So...
Oh, totally. Yeah. Because, like, Lovecraft is going to be, and now, he had his renaissance, but as we're moving into, like, a public that is now familiar with the vast depths of space and can't really be scared by cosmic infinity anymore, I feel like it's becoming, maybe my finger is no longer on the pulse, but I feel like all of my Lovecraft sources have sort of withered after all these years.
Well, I mean, you've always got St. Joshi to roll back to, so...
Oh yeah, but he'll always be like, oh, you know what? I did another look at this other book, and you can buy it again for $40.
Yeah, but I will say one of the highlights of that convention is usually on the Sunday night at the end of the convention, they have the old Harry Dean Stanton version of the Dunwich Horror movie, and they have it recut to cut out some of the more boring or nonsensical parts. And they always do it with a full live band in a theater up on the hill. And so they've got a full live band. There's a band called Big Nazo who dress up in Lovecraft costumes of the aliens. So, like, they're dressed up like Yithians and, like, Deep Ones. And there's these really elaborate costumes that they have. And they're off on the sides performing. They've got, like, crazy light technicians that have all these things. And they do it kind of like a Rocky Horror Picture Show revival, where people are encouraged to yell out and, make jokes throughout the movie.
That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from this.
Yeah.
But it's great.
Yeah, like Lovecraft I can't believe more people haven't done this because it seems like a layup. But if you want to set yourself apart, Lovecraft has a great cast of monsters that dress up as Gwar style.
Yes, very Gwar style. Yes.
Like it would and it with so much ease, but whatever. So tying it back in, what is it about the Dunwich horror that you like so much?
I think it's just that classic trope of family secrets, you know?
Yeah, I guess. Full disclosure, Dunwich or Dunwich, if you want to be cute about it, that story just does not grab me, but I've heard so many people whose opinions I respect say that it's their favorite, and I cannot get grabbed by it.
Well, and come on, you've got Armitage.
That's the thing. Everybody always points to Armitage as if he's like some like great character, but he's so. Maybe it's because I came across this story late in my Lovecraft readings, like it was one of the last ones that so I was very familiar with the professor stereotype. For my money, I think Whisper in Darkness has a better old-timey professor-style character, even though we only get him through letters.
Yeah. I also like Cool Air. I think Cool Air is a good kind of quick and dirty...
Yeah, it flirts with the mythos.
Yeah, it flirts with the mythos a little bit. It doesn't get you too crazy on one end or the other, but it's a good standalone story, you know?
Yeah, I'm a sucker for for the mythos stuff. Like anything that can be tied in, like with the heavy-handed stuff is what I'm talking about. Because obviously Cool Air, everything that Lovecraft writes or wrote is within the Cthulhu mythos, even when he was ghostwriting. But I love the ones where it's someone definitely trying to fuck directly with the mythos, and we don't get like the unnamed city or whatever, where it's like we get a little taste here or there, and they go, oh, like they say Shoggoth and everyone. But I like the ones where it's no fucking around. Like Innsmouth is soup to nuts, fucking Cthulhu and Dagon and deep ones and weird shit and frog dudes and weird crowns. I love all that.
What do you like about kind of the Lovecraft adjacent, not directly owned by him, but I'm a big fan of Hound of Tindalos, Frank Belknap Long.
Okay, so we're talking contemporary?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I was like, oh god, the stuff that's being written today seems a little...
No. I mean anything contemporary of Lovecraft. Not necessarily Lovecraft, but Lovecraft adjacent.
Like, my buddy really loves Robert E. Howard, so I kind of jumped into that, like the Black Stone, or that sort of stuff I'm into, where it's a little more on the action-y side. Like
more towards the Conan?
Kind of, but I'm not even like an action dude. I just... all of his contemporaries seem either overly reliant on the Gothic style that has long since departed, or it's too much cheese.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. Like the more... I guess that's why I like the Hound of Tindalos, because it is, I feel, just as weird.
Yeah. In
terms of concept of the mythos-related monster, if you want to call it.
Well, because they're name checked in the oh god damn it, Dreams in the Witch House. That's where like they came from. Lovecraft just dropped them, being like, oh yeah, they're just a thing, and so that's all there was.
Oh, Brown Jenkin.
Right. Oh my god. Have you? Obviously you have, but I'm going to ask you this rhetorical question anyway. You've obviously seen the Stuart Gordon Dreams in the Witch House.
You know, I actually haven't. No.
Dear God. Okay, then buckle up, because obviously it's just like every other Stuart Gordon movie. So there's like awkward nudity and sexual themes shoehorned in where they feel really awkward, but it does probably the best that anyone can do incarnation of Brown Jenkin.
See, it's always seemed so cartoony to me.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's not believable, it's not good, and it's not scary, but it's the best anyone can do, is what I'm getting at. It's a mixture of puppet shot from afar, and dude in a costume and hilarious fake rodent teeth shot from up close. It's a classic Black Scorpion situation, if you're familiar with that.
Yuck.
Yeah. But, hey, when you're a Lovecraft fan, you basically take what you can get because there's so few options.
Yeah.
You've got the two from the Lovecraft Society. You've got, In a Pinch you can watch Beyond the Wall of Sleep. But, let me get your thoughts on the Reanimator with Jeffrey Combs.
Oh, I mean, it's super camp and
Yeah.
definitely worth a watch, but I mean, I don't necessarily know how great it is. It is what it is.
Right. It's one of those movies where I wanted it to be closer to the source material, and I was just irritated by it because I was like, what the fuck? But as I've grown and as I've watched it a couple more times and then gained a little context for the story, finding out that Reanimator, and I've said this before, but it bears repeating, Reanimator was written for Homebrew, a comedy magazine. Herbert West Reanimator is a comedy piece. So, and the punchline being obviously, damn it, not fresh enough.
Yeah, exactly.
So I get why Stuart Gordon did what he did. However, he is, maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't, but he is like if you took Roger Corman and, oh god damn it, Jim Wynorski and put him in a blender and threw in a greatest hits of Lovecraft, like the Penguin classic.
That makes sense.
And spit it out, and you got
That
Stuart
makes
Gordon.
sense. Yeah, I haven't rewatched Reanimator in a long time. And didn't they have a bunch of sequels to that too?
Yeah, so there was 1, 2, and 3, and in 3, spoiler alert. You're still going to want to watch it after I tell you this, but spoiler alert. At the end, a reanimated penis fights a rat.
Nice.
Then we kick it up to the Bride of the Reanimator, and then the quality really goes downhill. But here's the thing. The third one has an interesting twist on the mechanic because, obviously, if you're familiar with Herbert West Reanimator, no matter how fresh you bring them back, they always are fucking monsters who come back and kill you. By the third one, Jeffrey Combs has realized the missing piece, and it's symbolized by the soul, a la this little spark that he shoots into a glass tube. So given that, the glass tube plus the green serum, you can be brought back more or less unfucked up. Mm-hmm. But if you keep the thing in the tube, then, the shenanigans happen. Somehow the penis gets reanimated and they fight.
I feel like every time I've seen Reanimator, it reminds me of The Man with Two Heads.
Yeah, or a spiritual successor was The Man with the Screaming Brain. Kind of. It was sort of that tongue-in-cheek sort of shit. But here's the thing. You always, and maybe you don't, but I always forget, while rewatching Reanimator, that disgusting, severed head going down on the tied woman scene.
Yeah. Oh, terrible. Ugh.
Yeah, I always forget about that motherfucker, and I go, oh, well, let's watch the Reanimator. It's funny and it's hilarious, but and it's so disarming too because it comes right after a slapstick style vaudeville comedy scene where the headless doctor Halsey or is it Halsey? No, he died. Whatever. The doctor who's wearing the fake anatomical head and doing all of his shenanigans. So you're lulled into this ho, this is, and then and you go, whoa. That's when Stuart Gordon rears his ugly head. Jesus Christ. But here's the thing that also nobody likes. The dream cycle stuff, am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all kind of weird.
It's not just weird. It's not good.
It's too much. It's too much at times.
It feels like it was the part, let's say, if Lovecraft were...
You're talking about, Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath.
Yeah, or even Celophaeus, I'll even throw in the Cats of Ulthar. All that shit where it's all zany, and I feel like it's just poetry.
With the Zoogs.
Yes, it's all just
Zoogs.
and bowls and doles and the Gugs. it's just like, what the... Now, keep in mind, obviously, the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath was never supposed to be published. So, yeah, maybe it would have been less asinine after a couple of passes.
Well, we don't get into Derleth and what he did with Lovecraft's information, but
I'm still pissed at him.
I mean, alternate plug, the good friends of Jackson Elias just did a 3-part release series on an analysis of the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. So
so like if you're gonna go like big 3 that you can never ever get through because they're awful, at least personally, Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath.
Long.
Yeah, well, it's for what it is, it's way too long. It is a slog for me. The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, obviously at the Mountains of Madness, unless you're like a real geology hound,
right,
gets a little dry. And it's also difficult for me to push through the Shadow Out of Time.
Yeah.
But I feel like every time Lovecraft stretched his legs, like all of the legroom went into describing asinine bullshit.
Well, but that's what he was about. He was about describing the indescribable in a way that was descriptive but not informative.
Right, and when that works, you have the unnameable. When it doesn't work, you have At the Mountains of Madness. When it's like short and he doesn't have to spend 1,700 pages on rocks, ice, tin cans, that sort of shit. Ugh. Like, and with the unnameable, it's like that's the perfect... It's so fast and so lean.
It really gets you in and out in the time that you need.
Yeah. Or like even his weird stuff like, oh God, The Hound. He's more in the mood of, what's his name? It's the more gothic, like, if you're into Lovecraft, he has definite periods where he has his gothic phase, his Poe phase. He's got all these different things where he's aping styles. And he doesn't really come into his own until maybe Cthulhu?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, depends. Depends on the story.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think The Hound is one of those ones that is firmly outside of the mythos, because there's not even any, like, there's no name dropping any of the books, I don't think. It's very like ghost story. There's nothing, but it does have one of my favorite parts of any Lovecraft story is when he's digging up the dude's grave to put the medallion back. He has to beat that vulture to death because it wouldn't fuck off.
You say it didn't mention the books, but The Hound was the first story to mention the Necronomicon, Dave.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you're right. I just mean, like, when we go down the laundry list of, like, he hadn't done the canoptic manuscripts.
Necrotic.
Cult de Ghouls. Yeah, it's kind of like how, like, The House is kind of a sleeper because it's the first story that mentions the Miskatonic Valley even, and Arkham. Huh. And it's just a toss-off. But still, awesome because the dude's a cannibal.
Yeah. The only story that I think the only story that I've read is The Shadow over Innsmouth.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that one was really good. It was short enough that I didn't get bored, and his description for me was good. Like I felt like I was there. Like I could picture, the rooms that he's running through when the fish people are like right outside his door, and he's going all through the.
Yeah, I always recommend that one or Herbert West as the intro because those are long enough that you sort of get a feel for what he can do, but not overly in the lore where you're completely lost.
Well, you know my feelings. I recommend you read The Outsider, Krista. You could finish that in the time it takes to drink a cup of coffee. It's
like a page and a half.
Oh,
I think it's a little more than that, but it's...
No, I know, but it's super short.
It's definitely a short story.
And, you need to almost read them. Like, because if you go to, I'm sure they're still up there, but like hplovecraft.com, dude bought it and has them all just up there in the order they were produced. And it's probably the right way to go because, like, if you get to something like the Haunter of the Dark, or one of my favorites, like The Thing on the Doorstep.
Mm.
If you get to The Thing on the Doorstep before you read The Shadow over Innsmouth, or before you read yada, 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 all of these various things, because that's what I did. I accidentally read The Thing on the Doorstep way too early. So I was like, what? Who are these people? And why do I hunt? Like, it's still a good story, but it's so rich and layered and has so many callbacks to all his other shit and even other people's shit. You need to do it from front to back.
Right.
Once you get your hooks into you with one of the standalones like The Outsider or Herbert West.
Yeah, because then you get increasing references, and you also get kind of immersed in the style, because you have to kind of like what we've talked about. You know, you have to like describing the indescribable.
You're right.
If you don't like that and you get into some of the more heady stuff, then you just not finish the story.
Right. You also have to come to grips with like there never being any dialogue ever, almost.
No, all exposition and description.
Yeah, his stories read like that, like someone actually telling you a story, and that's how they're written. Like 9 out of every 10 of his stories are like, okay, fine, I'll write this fucking thing down. Like the statement of
how did we not mention Pickman's model? That is another great one.
Yeah, like that one, and also the statement of Randolph Carter are basically like, you know, oh my god, here's all the crazy shit that just happened. But yeah, the Pickman's model, first reference to ghouls, I believe.
Yeah. It was Pickman's model's a real good one. Actually, interestingly enough, talking about segue with your mention of the statement of Randolph Carter, have you listened to any of the BBC Lovecraft cycle that they released about a year or two ago?
Oh, if it's been
where
last
they they took a bunch of the Lovecraft kind of canon and made a more updated, modern take, kind of jumping off of that in a podcast format. And man, it was great.
There are, like, since he's in the public domain, there are so many resources out there, some great, some terrible. Like, I've got it saved to this day, but like, Broken Sea Audio was the company that no longer exists, but they did like 30 days of recordings, and most of them were Lovecraft either readings or dramatizations. And some people can take that material and make it sing in a current setting, and others are so heavy-handed with the bullshit, it is disgusting. Like, how dare you? I feel sometimes.
Yeah, I had a real good time. They do The Shadow over Innsmouth. Yeah, BBC, The Lovecraft Investigations. If you like The Shadow over Innsmouth, I recommend listening to it. It is really, really good.
I'll look it up because there are, like, the Lovecraft Historical Society put out a bunch of audio dramatizations of it too.
Oh, the HPLHS? You're talking about the HPLHS? Yeah.
I am,
all
yeah.
of their Adventure Time, not Adventure Time.
Adventure Time.
Dark Adventure Radio Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of that is great. You know, they usually, if they come out to Necronomicon, they usually do 1 or 2 live performances of some of the stories, and they're amazing.
Yeah, they are. So they're 2 movies I want to get your opinion on too. So I loved The Call of Cthulhu, and I was lukewarm on Whisper in Darkness.
I feel the same. I think they're both great, but let's be honest. One's better than the other.
Yeah, and like I feel like The Call of Cthulhu was spot on thematically, aesthetically, yada yada yada. But something about The Whisper in Darkness that they did, like they tinkered with the story, I feel, too much, and their CG I feel was not good.
Yeah. Well,
Hey.
I mean, honestly, their Dark Adventure Radio Theater, their radio dramas of it, I mean, Sean and Andrew do an amazing job.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Also, I love their like, I don't know if they do them anymore, but I used to back in the day haunt their website all the time, looking at their little gift boxes where you can buy Professor Angel's box or buy like a replica of the Inuit Call of Cthulhu statue.
The props. I mean, you've got a couple major. I mean, definitely HPLHS is a major one for when it comes to like reproductions of, prop artifacts and stuff like that. You've also got Joe Browers out there who does amazing stuff. You've got Jason McKittrick who at Cryptocurium. He does some amazing reproductions of some like the greenstone tablet from Call of Cthulhu.
Oh yeah.
And
if I were such a hack, I would love to shoot my own like silent version of one of the shorts, or like even like nobody I've seen yet has done like a really good version, and this would be the easiest to do, of the Statement of Randolph Carter. Fucking crazy easy to shoot. 2 sets, like a swamp and a chair and a table under a lamp.
yeah.
And nobody's done it yet. But where am I going to get a swamp in Arizona, right?
Yeah, that's not going to be easy for you to find in your area, that's for sure.
I'll have maybe a road trip is in order, but that'll take 40 or 50 years. Nah, I'm already over the idea. Scratch that.
Yeah, actually, I think there was a German short that was really good. I think it's called Die Farbe. The color.
The color?
Yeah. Oh, I don't think we talked about this. You may have brought it up on another show, but The Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about that shit?
So good.
Holy
yeah.
fuck.
So good. So good.
Good and also fucking insane.
Yes.
Like, I cannot believe how legit these, like, the way these people react, they must have just gotten people inherently crazy. And so, oh my God, also bulletproof writing, because when you've got a well with an alien glob in it that makes you act weird, you can get terrible actors like Nicolas Cage.
Terribly amazing. I mean, he was made for that movie, chewing the scenery.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, even the kids were not annoying, and usually kids are super fucking annoying in movies.
He said parentally.
Like, I love the color palette choice. Now, however you want to feel about, what's his name, Richard Stanley?
Yeah, the palette choice was amazing. I think just the way it was shot was so beautiful.
Yeah, the cinematography, I think nothing about that. Now, you know how picky I am. But, like, I was looking for reasons to hate that shit. And it was not, like, it just wasn't there. There was nothing there to hate, but there was also not a huge amount to, like, really fall in love with either, aside from, the characters slowly going crazy and Nicolas Cage. Obviously, it's your favorite part too. I'm speaking for you. But when he like points himself out on the news and then makes reference to his hair, like pure gold.
So good.
Yeah, and then it has just enough like weird horror elements and like, because here's the thing. I was insanely worried about bringing it up to current times because, let's be real, modern technology kills horror. And if you have a family living on a farm at the turn of the century who don't have electricity, phones, etc., and it's just fucking Amy Pierce up the road, believable. But you throw Nicolas Cage out there and he's got like wireless internet and satellite dishes and shit.
Llamas.
Shitty wireless internet. The one thing that, I don't know, maybe I just would need to see it again. But the scene after, spoiler alert, after she cuts her hand or whatever, her fingers off, whatever, I don't remember exactly what she does, and they're at the hospital, something about the hospital scene was weird to me, and I don't know if it was maybe because I didn't really know what was going on. Like, I know people were going crazy. I know if you leave the perimeter or whatever, like, you're not crazy. But, like, he was still acting kind of fucking weird, Nicolas Cage. And then they were on the phone, and then that whole thing was weird.
Well, here's the problem with it all is like, you kind of have to know the story because it's in the water.
Yeah.
So they're taking crazy with them. So if you're going to be behind the wheel of these characters, everything is automatically going to be a little crazy because we're shooting from their perspective.
I understand what you're saying, though, Krista. It kind of took you out of the momentum that it was building. I mean, it was...
Yeah, because nothing really happened except for, like, the phone thing. Like, there wasn't, like...
It created some isolation and some drama with the kids and... you know, the escalation of what was going on there without the parentals around. But...
And you could easily forget about the wife, like, for a while. It was...
up until a point.
But that's part of, like, it captures the story so well, because when you're reading it, you know, the wife and the kids are just sort of, again, it's being told to us as a story by the neighbor who was actually being recited by a guy who used to work as a land surveyor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's this, that, and the other.
I think if I watched it again, like now that I like know all the things, I think I would. I didn't dislike it. I liked the movie. There were just some things that were like, I don't like that.
It's all there, but you have to realize that when it's like Burton's Batman. You know, when you lean into something real stylized, it can go horribly right, like Burton's Batman. Or if you lean into your style, it can be like Schumacher's Batman, horribly wrong. So that's a lot of times we get is like people get into, or not get into, but they do these Lovecraft films and they lean into whatever style they are going to and not necessarily source material. And that's what we get with Richard Stanley. He... You know, if you watch, I'm sure maybe you've seen this, Vathas, but that documentary they did, Island of Lost Souls?
No, haven't seen it.
Okay, check it out. It's all about how Richard Stanley tried to put together his perfect version of the Island of Dr. Moreau, and it all blew up, and he ended up living in the woods for a while, and it's fucking crazy. But... what you get out of that is he is the type of dude who wants to stay faithful to the material while being a weirdo. So, like early Tim Burton, not later Tim Burton.
Yeah, like I'm not a huge fan of, like, I don't like a lot of horror, like weird, like, not gory stuff. I guess I don't really like gory stuff, but like that weird morphing thing, that creeped me out. That was just a weird
body horror.
Did not like, I'm not a fan of body horror, and the goats or the llamas or the alpacas or whatever they were. I didn't like.
Yeah,
that reminded me
alpacas.
of those dogs from Resident Evil, from like very early on Resident Evils with like the gross skin on the outside.
That's also like everybody except you. The touchstone is going to be The Thing.
Yeah,
Oh, so good.
That is Lovecraft, like. Real heavy adjacent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Even though it's built on its own story,
it's for sure cosmic horror. It's totally cosmic horror.
Yeah, totally. That's another cool thing about, God damn it, The Color Out of Space, is there is no, this has been brought up time and time again, but there is no real bad guy.
Right.
Like,
right.
The color is, basically a stranded dude from space, essentially living in a well, slurping up the energy of the life around it to get the fuck out of here.
Well, but that's the great part about cosmic horror. It's about, humans think they're the center of everything, and then there's something else, something or some flora, fauna, whatever you want to call it, that's much bigger and totally alien to us, that can just come in 100% uncaring and just be itself, and it just breaks the humanity that it touches.
That is kind of the fun part, though. It's like all of Lovecraft's monsters are at best like they don't give a shit. Like,
of course, We're nothing to them. We're just some other thing.
You are, like, let's say you are at best, you are having a relationship with the deep ones, and they just, bang us apes every once in a while to keep relations, and so they, it's just easier this way. All the way to complete detachment of the great old ones who dissect the party and open up cans, and they're just curious. They don't give a fuck. They are completely, and Cthulhu, doesn't give a fuck. Completely disinterested.
Yeah, but that's even the better part, right? It's even to the humans that make themselves cultists who are worshiping Cthulhu and carrying out these heinous acts in praise or, in desire to appease this thing that could give two shits about whether you know his name or not.
Right. That's what's so wild about the Cthulhu mythos is all of these gods and entities have their devotees, from Shub-Niggurath to fucking Cthulhu to Dagon and yada yada yada. Nyarlathotep, everybody's got their own little cult.
Except for maybe Nyarlathotep. Nyarlathotep definitely cares a great deal more about humanity than any of the other old ones. Because he uses us.
Yeah, that's the thing. He is basically the one playful aspect of the Cthulhu mythos, but it's still fucking stark terrifying. Right. It's not he's doing it for his own jollies, and you can get into the nuts and bolts of it. He's got a million versions of himself,
right?
But the way he occupies his time is fucking with people floating in a void, or putting on Tesla-style light shows that essentially dose everybody with acid, so they're walking through a hellscape of brimstone and rained upon by hot ash.
Nice.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody else, the deep ones, are whatever, we'll put up with you. The stars will come around. We never die. We just don't care. Quit fucking with us.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's it. Even after they torpedo and depth charge Devil Reef.
Oh, Mother Hydra.
Yeah, dude in the story's I'll have to pay a little penance for that, but I live forever, and who gives a fuck? And we'll rise, and after man has basically nuked itself off the planet, we'll hop up and be like, hey, cool. Because that's the great thing about all these monsters, is they're all not interested. They have an infinite shelf life, so that Cthulhu's been asleep for 1 trillion years, doesn't give a fuck. The deep ones, you could go down and hang out with your great grandma, and it's just status quo. And they go, well, the humans are being kind of a nuisance. They're up there dicking around, but we give them gold and they, fish and shit, and they leave us alone. Or, there's no real, except for, no, not even even in the offshoot stuff, the terrible old man. He just wants to be fucking left alone. But you flash the cash and people come and they want to steal it.
Well, just terrible humanity being human and terrible.
But that's a pretty, I would also recommend this sort of a gateway drug too. The Terrible Old Man is not heavy on the mythos, but it's also pretty stark if you take the gravity of it, where he's basically ripping out these dudes' souls and putting them in bottles.
Mm-hmm.
And since, he's basically lived forever, and he pays for, which is, that's another great, not to bring up more and more about this, it needs to be dissected, but the fact that even for old-timey writing, it's the 20s, everything that Lovecraft writes is still set fucking 100 or 200 years before then.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Or at least it calls back, because when the Terrible Old Man, he pays for everything in town with Spanish gold and doubloons and all this other shit. Or another one that does that but is shitty, which is almost like he gets a walking tour from a racist guy who gets killed by an Indian blob.
Oh.
It's not great. But and also it's almost like like an 80s movie. Even for Lovecraft, there are some that stick out like sore thumbs, and like he is one of those where, or am I thinking of the right one, Vathas?
No.
I'm going to describe it to you. Tell me if I'm giving you the right one. The dude, he's walking around New York. He gets lost, ends up finding a dude in like 17th century knee breeches and a powdered wig and shit. He walks around and he has a window he can see through time. I realize this sounds insane, but moral of the story is a wizard from the 17th century takes our unnamed protagonist up to this window, and he's like, "Oh, look, here's the past, and here's this." He's like, "Oh, can we see the future?" And it's like the most racist future ever, because it's.
Are you talking about the horror at Red Hook?
No, but that one is also racist.
That's like one of the most racist.
Right. But this is a small dose of racism, because when our main character says, "Well, show me the future," and he's like, "I don't know, it's dicey," but he shows him the future, and it's basically an Asian wonderland by this description, where it's like, he's not really telling you what's been going on, but it's filthy, and everybody has slant eyes and shit like that. And to top off that racist sundae with some racist whipped cream, they use his time traveling window for too long. And the way this wizard got his power was via a Native American medicine man or shaman who he stole magic from and then killed.
Oh.
And it ends up this blob of black tar that throws tomahawks and also has drums within it. It essentially kills our racist old-timey dude. And our guy wakes up going, "Oh, and that's the story. I don't know. It was weird." The end.
The end.
That's how most of them end, though. It's like, well, I woke up in a hole, and my hair was burnt, and there was acid and scratch marks everywhere. I just woke up.
Yeah.
It's like fucking, oh God. What's the one, the Martens Mansion? The Lurking Fear?
Yeah.
Bam. Yeah. Like at the very end of that, like the grand revelation is all these homunculus little inbred monkey creatures, a la the Beast, just blown out to 11. Beast in the Cave, rather. And he's just like, yeah, it was just this huge thing. I shot one of them and I fainted. The end. I woke up and wrote this.
Yeah, there's a lot of fainting.
Yeah, so much. Oh my God. But that's you had to do that. It was a great framing device, because how else?
Right.
I mean, what can you do? Let's say you're
right. I can't keep describing this stuff.
Right. You get down to the bottom of the pyramid, right? You realize the thing you're looking at that's the size of a hippo is actually a real life sphinx's toe. How do you get out of that? Faint. Wake up on the top side.
Perfect.
And it's always like there's always an escape hatch, like where if it gets too dicey. Maybe that's why I like the Shadow over Innsmouth so much. Is like the tension gets so high, but he never pulls that ripcord. Call of Cthulhu, poof. I don't know. I woke up on a ship. Dagon, poof. I don't know. I was laughing maniacally over an expanse of sunless goo, and I woke up here in a hospital. Yeah, but that's the kind of shit you love if you like formula. If you're an SVU type person, if you're a formulaic comfort food type person, Lovecraft is it. And it's also scary at times.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And even though some of the stuff wasn't very sensical or over descriptive at times, made for some great RPG material.
Oh, totally. You've got a full roster of monsters and even like a basic hierarchy set out in the story. Like, it's like no bullshit. Like, he tells you, like, these entities go under this entity, and the great old ones worship this, and the Yithians are from yada yada, and the Yuggoth, crab fungus things, they worship this. So it's like a complete ecosystem. So yeah, and then when you just come along and be like, well, Dungeons and Dragons is copyrighted, and Lovecraft has been dead, and he was poor as fuck, so we'll just steal it.
Well, yeah.
Public domain, baby!
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the beauty of it. It's a playground now. But that's the way he always meant it to be. So it's no harm, no foul. Except, sometimes people crank out some foul shit.
He was worlding.
Yeah, totally. Well, Vathas, this has been super great. No one ever wants to talk to me about Lovecraft, and I don't know why, but I really appreciate you coming on and doing it.
Of course. It was super fun.
And the disc golf, that was an interesting that was interesting as well, because you know what? Fucking every hobby has so many layers, and obviously disc golf is one of those hobbies.
Yeah. Well, Can I?
What else can you say about it?
You mind if I plug the Lovecraft gaming podcast that I've been doing for about 7 years now?
Well, how about this? Why don't we do it official style, and we'll wrap up the show by doing some staff recommendations. I mean, maybe
cool.
Maybe you've heard of this before. We do that on the show. So yeah, go ahead and recommend away. What is the name? Where can people find it, etc.?
Yeah, so it's an actual play Call of Cthulhu gaming podcast. We're called Skype of Cthulhu. You can find us at
nice.
www.cthulhu.me, M-E. And a couple other great recommendations out there is the Miskatonic University podcast, who you can
it's a good one.
find just by looking them up out there. And then there's another out there recently started, the Modern Mythos podcast with John Hook and Seth Skorkowski, as well as the good friends of Jackson Elias, which is a great podcast by Scott Dorward, Paul Fricker, and Matt Sanderson, some of the more recent, newer, some older, authors of a lot of the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game material out there.
So, do you know, this has been a while since I've touched in, but is is Yog-Sothoth Radio or the H.P. Lovecraft Literary Podcast, are they still kicking?
I have not listened to the H.P. Podcraft or the H.P. Lovecraft Literary Podcast in quite some time, but I'm pretty sure Chris Lackey and them are still kicking around out there.
Those were so good.
Yog Radio, I don't believe exists anymore, but I haven't looked into it in a while. Yog-Sothoth.com is still out there.
There are so many great, one day I keep saying, I want to do, because one of my favorites that's without of the Mythos, it's a strong second that I love, is the Mound.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to talk about the Mound one day for a very long time.
Oh, we'll need to get you hooked up with Scott Dorward. They've already talked about that on the good friends of Jackson Elias. I think they did a 1 or 2 part episode on that, but I think definitely you could get into some verbal athletics with Scott.
It is so good.
Yeah. No, super good.
Maybe people don't give... Maybe this is obviously just my personal aesthetic, but growing up in the Southwest, I like maybe being force-fed it. I've come to just enjoy it. So even though it happens in Oklahoma, it's still Southwest, and there's cactus, and it's sort of cowboy, and it's wild. And, the Native American aspect of it all, and the weird, I could talk about that. But also, it's all kind of... It gets dicey with the racism too, but that's where we stand with Lovecraft.
If you're going to be getting into Lovecraft, you have to be looking at it for the right things and be able to read the bad things and not let it affect you. I mean, that's a whole different podcast for us to talk about.
Yeah, with every art, you have to take it in context. You can't say, well, no, it does, blah, blah, blah. Well, obviously, number one, who is, let's say, cave painting, or what, zoetropes, everything falls out of style, and in context, they were, great. What, comes and goes, obviously, stuff like racism or xenophobia or all the weird stuff, but, that's fucking life, so get over it.
I mean, if Lovecraft wasn't racist and xenophobic, he would not have put some of the things that he came up with.
Yeah, if you're not afraid of something, you know, you're not going to write horror. So,
But anyway, I mean, if anyone out there is interested in Lovecraft or Lovecraftian horror or horror gaming in general, I recommend those podcasts. And I also would recommend, if you are near the Providence, Rhode Island area, have any interest of that, August of 2022, pass is going on sale, I believe, next Friday. Check out Necronomicon Providence. It's a great time.
Probably today, as of this releasing, then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't know when I'm going to release it, so don't worry about that.
Check it out. General passes will not sell out. It's a very small convention. You're more than welcome. There's lots of great people, authors, gaming, lectures.
Yeah, one of the things I want to do before I leave this planet is get to the East Coast to see, you know, all of that shit. I want to see Lovecraft's grave. I want to go all over all that old timey shit. I want to see Angel Street. I want to get all that in at some point. So yeah,
the Fleur de Lis house.
Oh, the Fleur de Lis. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like we didn't bring this one up, but like the oh god, what was it? The Shunned House. Like, that is nothing but whatever based on a real life address. Not a great story. It's all about an elbow. Forget about it. Anyway, once again, thank you for listening. If you want to get in contact, you know the way. We're on Twitter, yada, 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 Discord, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, once again, I'm going to double down. Thank you, Vathas, for coming on the show. This has been very fun.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great time.
All right, guys. So we will catch you next time on another episode of FFOP Radio. Pow. See you next time.
Fistful of Podcasts Radio.
Recording.
And now we can do my famous counting technique that you are no doubt ignorant of because I've never told you. So
well, let's hear what yours is, and then I'll tell you mine.
I do. It's really simple. I say 1 and 3. You say 2 and 4.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. We usually go with time.is and pick a set time, and then have everyone clap when it hits that time.
That's a whole thing.
That's ridiculous. Here, I'm going to say 1. You're going to say 2. Ready? 1,
2,
3,
4.
See, and that way, boom, you just visually snap them together.
Okay. All right.
You can use that if you want. It's free. That's my gift to you for being on the show.
Well, that's okay.
What? How dare you? Look, a gift horse in the mouth.
He wants to clap.
You know, people like clap. You can whistle for all I care. I'm not on your show, or I'm not editing your show. Anyway, let's get started.
Yes, indeed.